So I've been working in my shop lately and I realized that it was time to change my planer's knives. Now I have a DeWalt and it's a DW735 13-inch planer, and I'm going to just show you how to do it. There's a few little tricks, and honestly this is easier than reading the directions, so let's get started with this. So to start off, everything you need is right here. In case you didn't know, this is an Allen wrench. It is stored right here, and you use it to remove all these four screws on the top. Now these 4 screws that are in these silver plates are the only ones you need to remove, and they don't actually come out. You just want to loosen them. So get them loose inside of the hole they're in. Now, before I go any further, it is extremely important that this machine is unplugged. Make sure you unplug the machine. You don't need any accidents here. So my machine is unplugged. It can't accidentally be turned on or anything like that. So you lift that off, and inside you have something that looks like this. Now, red is what you're looking for here. So you're going to take these 3 red long plastic screw-like items out. These will turn out counterclockwise, just how anything would turn out. And you can see it has a screw on the bottom. So once you get those 3 out, you have this safety cover that covers over the cutter head, and it also feeds the chips out the machine. You need to lift it up a little bit and just slide it, and it comes right out. Okay? Now, you can see right here, this is called the cutter head, and there are 3 13-inch knives in this. Now, here's a little trick. Easy to forget. Even I forgot when I started changing these. There is a mechanism that locks this in place so it doesn't spin while you're working on it. That mechanism is right here. So you have to push that down to engage it, and then you can spin it. Now keep in mind, these are knives, they're very sharp, so you want to be careful doing this. But you can see now I can freely spin it to whatever cutter head or whatever side of the cutter head I want. One thing I did when I first got this is I actually took a silver Sharpie and I wrote a 1, a 2, and a 3 on each cutter or knife mounting bracket, I guess you would call that. And that way I just know which cutter head I'm on, in case I were to get mixed up and accidentally change one twice. So all you do now is you use the same tool. You loosen these screws up right here. And here's a little trick. This tool has 2 magnets on it. Very handy for doing this. So all I have to do is come in here upside down with this, and it'll pick it right up. You can do the same thing with the knife. Now sometimes these knives get stuck, so you may need to work at them a little bit. Now, here's what a planer knife looks like, at least for this machine. These come with 2 cutting edges. So if one side gets dull, you can flip it and do the other side. Now I've already changed the other 2 knives in this machine, and I was getting ready to change the 3rd one, and I thought this would make a good video. So I put everything back on so I could show you exactly how this is done. So all you're going to want to do is flip this 180 degrees and put it right back down on. Now the way you line it up, there is an oblong slot right here and right here. Those oblong slots fit right where this pin is, right here and right here. Hopefully you can see that. If you're changing yours, you should be able to see what I'm talking about. And that should line everything up. It'll set the depth so that all the knives are consistent. That's one difficult thing when changing planer knives, is to get a consistent depth. If you don't get them all set perfectly, it won't cut straight and you'll have a lot of calibration problems. This machine, it does away with that issue by creating those pins that set that depth automatically. Very nice feature. I've used planers in the past when I was a teacher that did not have that, and it was quite difficult to get the knife set exactly where you wanted. Okay, so let's rewind this for a second, because I did forget to mention which side of the knife goes up. If you see the picture I imposed here, that is the top side, and it bevels away from the top so that the base is actually wider than the top is. So make sure that you have that in the right way. Now, sometimes this gets a little off center. You want to just kind of, I use a screwdriver and just kind of pry it left to right like this. I'm just looking to make sure that the holes are lined up, because if it gets off left or right one way or another a little bit too far, you might have some trouble getting those screws in, and I want to make sure that I don't have any problems like that. So now all I'm going to do is set the cover back down exactly how I found it and start putting the screws in. I like to go by hand first just to get them started, and then I'll go back through and snug them up real good with the Allen wrench tool. Now, I'm not saying for sure that all knives that you can buy will have the double cutting edges. That's something you might want to look at when you're buying. It is a nice feature, because if you get in a bind, you're in the middle of planing a bunch of boards and your knives start going dull and maybe leaving some planer marks or grooves, you can just switch it out and continue with the job you're working on rather than wait for some to get to you. So I will need to order some new ones here, because obviously this is the last side of these, but it is nice to have a two-sided blade or a two-sided knife for these machines. So keep that in mind when ordering. All right, I have them all started. I'm just going to snug everything up real good. And then we're going to put it back together, because like I said, I've already changed the other two. So put it back together the same way we took it apart. Make sure you put your tool back so you don't forget it and lose it, and that's all there is to it. So if you have one of these planers, that is how you change the knives. It's pretty simple. A couple things to remember. One, unplug the machine. Make sure that it cannot be turned on while you're working on it. That is very important, just in case you were accidentally bumped the switch here. Number two, the knives can be very sharp. Watch where your hands are. Watch how you work around them. If you spin that cutter head by hand, there's a chance you could get cut. So you got to be very careful, or don't spin it by hand. Use a block of wood even to push on it to spin it if you need to spin it. Just got to be very aware where that cutting edge is so you don't get cut. Now, the knives I have on here are aftermarket knives. They are not DeWalt brand knives. They're not the ones that came with this machine. They work just as good. I will put a link down in the description for the ones I'm using. They cost a fraction of the cost of the DeWalt knives, and they're great knives. I highly recommend them. If you don't have a surface planer and think you might need one, this is a great little machine. It has good sawdust port out the back. It cuts nice. It's hard to find a smaller planer that still can cut 13 inches. So you have some nice capabilities with the machine, and does a great job. One nice thing about it is when you crank the height adjustment, it tracks really nice. In all four corners, there's a post, and it tracks up and down that post very smoothly, very nicely. It never gets out of whack, because if it did, you would not have an accurate cut, and it would cause a lot of problems. So that is one really nice feature. Aside from that, thanks for watching. I hope you got some use out of this and found it interesting. If you did, hit that like and subscribe button. Really helps me out, helps my channel out, so I can get out to more people. I love doing this. I love bringing people along with me, and we'll catch you next time.